Welcome back to another episode of Painfully Clear with Graham Archer. So in this episode we're going to look at a topic that really every innovator should understand, the parts of a patent application. Now a patent application can be quite tricky to read. Graham, why is that?
Well, a patent application is both a legal and technical document. So the language is deliberately precise, which often means it's tricky for the average reader. But underneath all that formal language, we're really just telling a story of how the world was before the invention, what the invention is and why it's great, and how the invention works. If we tell that story well, especially in a way that convinces an examiner the invention is clever, we have a good shot of getting a granted patent.
Okay, so if it's a story, presumably there are chapters to that story?
Yeah, that's right. Most applications are divided into background to the invention, summary of the invention, detailed description of the invention, and usually there's a set of drawings to read alongside that, and they're briefly described in the brief description of the drawings. And then finally there are the claims.
Now I've heard that the claims are kind of the most important part. Why is that?
Yeah, that's right. The claims define the legal protection. They're the boundaries of what you're claiming your invention is. And there are two types. So there are independent claims. These are the most important because they define the broadest protection and they stand on their own. And then there are the dependent claims. These refer back to an earlier claim. You can spot them because they say things like an apparatus according to claim 1 or according to any preceding claim. They're narrower and they act as fallback positions if the independent claim isn't acceptable.
Okay. Well, you didn't start with claims on your list. You started with background to the invention. Why is that?
That's where we set the scene. It's a short description of the prior art, which is basically everything that exists before the application is filed, and the problems with that prior art. We're giving the examiner an impression of the state of the art so that they can see how the invention is an improvement.
Okay. And then we get to summary of the invention. So how's that different?
The summary uses much of the language from the claims, but we weave in explanations of the advantages of the invention. Think of it as an elevator pitch, but with precise legal phrasing.
Okay. And then there's brief description of the drawings. So I'm guessing that's where there's some pictures and images?
Exactly. In this section, we quickly describe what each figure shows. So the language will be something like, figure 1 is the perspective view of the apparatus. And then the detailed description goes into greater depth. This is where we explain the invention so clearly that someone skilled in this field could actually make it and make it work.
Okay, so that's the sort of the trade-off. You tell the public how the thing works and then you get exclusive rights for 20 years.
Yeah, that's the patent bargain. But there's a catch. If you don't provide enough detail, your patent could later be found to be invalid. So the detailed description has to be thorough.
Okay, so to recap, a patent application is a story with 4 chapters and each chapter serves a different purpose.
A patent application is a structured story told with carefully selected high precision language. The claims set the boundaries, the background sets the stage, the summary sells the benefits, and then the description teaches the world how to make it and make it work.
Okay, thanks Graham, that's really clear.